The Chiefs offense always seems to evolve as the year progresses. Do you think we will see more intermediate to deep field concept as the years goes on? Mahomes' ADOT is almost 40th in the NFL currently.
That was the plan. That was the plan.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome to this episode of 21 Questions here on KC Sports Network, presented by our friends at Braden's Hope, who do amazing work in pediatric cancer funding and research and support here in Kansas City and across the country. There are many phenomenal organizations around Kansas City that do amazing work. And if you're looking to find one to support, please consider learning more about Braden's Hope. Denise, Kim, Azur, and company are fantastic people, and we are proud to work with them, not just on this show, but with some other things that we do across KCSN and the KCSN Foundation. They deserve your support. And you know who else deserves all the good things? Is our special guest for this episode, and Mr. James Palmer from Underdog Fantasy, or Underdog right now. James, I'm excited to catch up with you, man. I'm excited to learn more about what you're doing. But before, just how are things? How's life?
Life's good, man. It's good to be chatting with you again, BJ. What is this, 2018, 17, on the sideline of Arrowhead? You and I standing there just rapping away like we used to way back in the day. It's
some of my funnest times, man. Just sitting there and just BSing, not on camera, not just like hanging out and just talking football, understanding that life, that world. I miss that. Those are the times that I miss, to be honest. But it does feel like a lifetime ago.
It was a minute. Things are good, man. I got to get to KC. It's weird this year. My wife kind of thought I had like this whole second family, like in Lee Summit or something. So I was there so much, covering the team over the last 5 years. It's been unreal. But I'll get back. I still talk to so many people in the building. I still talk to everybody there. So. But things are good, man. I love doing this show. Steve Smith is one of my favorite human beings. Actually, a very well-liked person in the Chiefs building, I will say this. And the dude knows ball, man. Big time. Amy's one of the best receivers I watched as a kid. I don't want to date him. We're kind of the same age, but I was younger. But we love it, man. He pulled out the whiteboard in our last episode. All you Chiefs fans go watch, because we broke down Rashee Rice like crazy. For a lengthy period of time, and those shallow crosses, a route that Steve knows really, really well. And you saw Sunday night, pretty unguardable, done right. Rashee is doing a really, really good job with it. Talking ball with him has been a blast. Doing all these different things with Underdog, doing stuff with Bleacher Report, doing stuff with, radio stations everywhere. It's been kind of fun. I'm like a man amongst the NFL now. Hired gun for hire, if you will. It's been fun, buddy.
Well, awesome, man. And I know you know this, and I hope the audience knows this, because you and I have, whether it was when I was at the Chiefs or even early on here with KC Sports Network, had you on. I always spoke highly of you, and that there's a lot of great people who cover the NFL, and you were in Kansas City so often, man. But yeah, of all the people, you were always kind, always gracious. And I talked about this with Haley too. That, some people that come around, that you have a chance to go across the entire NFL and cover everyone. Whereas I only get the perspective of what it's like to be within the Chiefs organization and how they operate, how they work. But when you come in and you can provide context to how special a lot of things about the way that the Chiefs operate is different across the NFL. And you were always great about helping provide that context to us. And just personally, it was always fun chatting with you.
Appreciate it, man.
The show's called 21 Questions. So we ask our subscribers in our Discord to provide questions. I put it out on Twitter as well. And then our Mint Mobile hotline, we had a few questions submitted there as well. But before we get to those questions, I have two myself. We do. We have the Mint Mobile hotline. You have a
hotline, like the line that Zach Morris ran. What was that called? The teen line on Saved by the Bell.
I'm upset that I don't know that reference. It's my favorite show growing up as a kid.
Remember that? But dating the girl that he was talking.
Remember Big Cell Phone? I remember. Yeah.
No, it wasn't on the cell phone. It was like the teen line, and then it was another one of the wildly strange things that they tried to tackle. Then he finds out she's in a wheelchair, because he only talked to her on the phone. And then Zach goes, "Oh my God, she's in a wheelchair," and it becomes a huge deal for the episode. And then you never see her again. After that, but
they did tackle a lot on that show. Yeah. I remember the oil spill episode all time.
Becky the Duck, man. Becky the Duck. Yeah. But Johnny Dakota's coming in. Say no to drugs, guys.
You're going to have another podcast about anxiety pills, caffeine pills. They attack
really
a lot of
into
things
Stanford
on that show. I remember. But I had a couple questions for you. First one, favorite Chiefs interview that you've done during your time. I know you're not done, so obviously, so far. Because I have one in mind. And
what's the one?
Why is it Frank Clark?
The one that went
Frank Clark.
Yeah, it's Frank Clark. I mean, that's the one that went viral. Big time. The one when they were going to the first AFC champion when they won the AFC championship game, and we're going to the Super Bowl. The one on the field at Arrowhead, and Frank Clark just losing his mind.
Yep.
And Frank and I had some sort of special relationship. I don't know why, but we did. That one stands out the most. I had another one when this past year, I want to say. No, 2 years ago, because it would have been when they won the when they won at home. So 2 years ago. And it got cut short when it aired on NFL Network. But Chris Jones lost his mind. And the whole back end of it got lopped off, and it didn't air. But he was suck it, like over and over. He got back behind the camera. He wanted everybody to see his entire body, and he was like, "Let's go, let's get it." He was cursing up a storm. It was phenomenal. That was a great one. But the Frank Clark's number one, for sure. But also the Chris Jones one this past year in the fourth coldest game ever. Talking to Chris on the field, like, and what was said prior to the interview about playing in that game, like the truth about it, that was something else. That interview was something else. Just like, it was almost like we all survived this game. I can't believe like this game was A, played, and B, like somehow everybody's done playing and we're all going to hopefully go home safe. That one kind of stands out, but the Frank Clark one's number one. I mean, that's
Frank was awesome. Those three dudes, Frank, Chris Jones, and then Tyrann Mathieu was the other one. And that you talked to them, they were very real with people. When you ask them a real question, they'll give you a real non-canned answer to where you feel like you actually get to know them. And Frank was very open with people about that.
Yeah.
That people that were willing to be genuine with him, like you are with everyone, that I try to be. That's the reason I had great conversations with Frank, because he'll sit and have a real conversation with you if you're willing to have it. So
big time. He did. I remember I was in Miami. I'm standing outside the hotel, and they're getting ready to go on the bus to their final walkthrough on Saturday at Hard Rock. And I'm going live from when they were outside, and they're walking behind me, and you can hear, because I turned around, that Frank is walking to the bus. He's like, "I'm going to be talking to you tomorrow night, JP." Just like predicting the win.
Is it about the Super Bowl down in Miami?
The Super Bowl in Miami.
Yeah.
So they
were getting the interview like you hadn't slept the next morning, like the next day you were out.
Oh, that was.
I remember that because I was
with Damian Williams.
Yes.
Oh my God, we were
walking to the bus in like no shoes, dress pants, a white T-shirt, and hadn't slept like 30
that
minutes,
interview,
taking our stuff to the bus.
Oh, that was like I said to him, I was like, "Have you slept?" He's like, "No." And like, I barely slept. That was a good one too. But like, Frank just had that, like, he was excited for the interview after the Super Bowl because he was like, "We're going to do this again." And he just always kind of lit up when he knew we were kind of like coming close to each other on the field. And he was like, "All right, we're going to do it." Because he was comfortable, I think. Something about our conversations always made him feel comfortable.
You're good at it. And that's part of being good at it, is making people feel comfortable around you.
Wow.
Favorite behind the scenes Chiefs moment, non-interview, non-camera, just being around the team, being around Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce. I know it's probably loaded, so I'm going to keep extending the question to give you a little bit of time.
Well,
I did not prep you for any of these.
No, you didn't prep me for anything. Favorite Chiefs moment?
The best way to do it.
Behind the scenes.
Just like nugget, just interaction, funny story, anything.
I would say, I don't know why this was the first one that came to my mind, but do you remember the old Bobcat like thing, training camp? What was that?
Yeah.
Training camps ago?
Yes.
Right?
Yes. In the door. Yes.
Yeah. In the dorms.
Yes.
Yeah. With the Bobcat. Yeah. They were kind of talking about those, I think, with me and Steve Mariucci, like what we were going to do on camera about it. But getting to see the full length clips that nobody else saw because they were getting shown to us beforehand, those were outstanding. Like, they couldn't air them on our interview, and they didn't air them. Like, I think the Chiefs did a social clip about it as well. The full length of those was just were hilarious. They were phenomenal, but you couldn't air them. Like, there was no way those were getting on on television or on social.
Yeah, whenever anyone brings up the idea of like, oh, the Chiefs are one of the few teams that still goes away for camp. When are they going to go? like, I don't know if they're ever going to do it. As long as Andy Reid's there, they're going to get away. And because of dumb stuff like that I think does make a difference.
I think it does. I mean, that, and then like some of the conversations I used to have with Henny, like really early in Pat's career, where he would just kind of let me into the quarterback room a little bit, just with our conversations in the locker room, and just kind of tell me like, we're on the verge of something like ridiculously special here. Like the stuff that he was seeing in the room. I remember he used to describe it like really early in Pat's career to where it would be like, Chad would see a lot of this stuff. He's been around forever, and he would help Pat see it like year 2, year 3. And then he's like, there was this transition where like I'm writing it down and we're looking at it, and like I'm about to, and he starts seeing it like faster and faster and faster. And then he starts seeing it faster than I'm seeing it. And then in the room, he started recognizing everything. Like, I'm like, I don't even need to be here anymore. I mean, I'm going to help. But it went from like, the mentor watching the pupil just grow so quickly behind closed doors, just in that little room. That was cool hearing like from him, like we're on the verge of something crazy. And it was true.
Yeah. Those are the stories that I'm going to remember forever, whereas the build up and even the redshirt year for Patrick Mahomes, the respect that everyone had for Alex, man, and people that are there know that there's nothing fake about what Alex did, and he'll never get enough credit. They should put a statue, and I'm dead serious, outside of Arrowhead for what he did that year, going out of his way.
And he played well
in a way that he didn't need to, and he had the best year of his career. Played the ball and got Tyreek Hill a lot of money, and then Patrick Mahomes picked up where he left off. But yeah, the stories and the things that I loved in the behind the scenes moments were just talking with some of the coaches that were willing to educate me on football and what I was watching.
Yeah, and
I miss some of like Brad Childress was awesome about that, where he's not giving away state secrets to answer a question like, hey, what am I seeing here? To not be critical, not to do anything other than just learn to make sure that I understand better of what I'm watching. He's probably explaining like at a high school level to me, but to me, it's like, I just want to be able to interact with you guys better about what I'm seeing. And Chili, Nagy was always great about that. And some of the other coaches, Spags was always awesome. Where they could explain whatever it was. And those were the things that were awesome, that when you see the success that they have and they're good people that treat people the right way, it makes it all the more special.
Yeah. I remember a conversation with Joe Cullen, a Super Bowl week, about Chris Jones. And he was like, I know it's like crazy, but like, it's like a Reggie White get off. Like, it's like a man that big should not move like that. And it's actually, even like he said, like, it's like hard to coach because it's such an outlier, right? To figure out what you can do with them, because you've never seen it before.
Yeah.
Right. Like, you've never worked with somebody that size that can move that fast. And as a coach, he's like, you're almost like, I'm trying to figure out what I can do with him, because he's breaking the rules that I try to teach. You know what I mean? It's similar to like, I had a conversation with Dan Quinn once, and this is really cool. Like, he went and talked to like Steve Kerr and like other NBA coaches about coaching Micah Parsons. Like, because he was like, these NBA guys, they have like a 7-foot dude that brings the ball up one game. And then the next time the game plan is the guy's playing in the low post. The next time he can play, like, because NBA players are so physically gifted, and I'll use the word freaks because they are.
Yeah.
They can do all these different things, right? And Kevin Garnett shouldn't be able to dribble and play with the ball like he does at 7 feet tall. Like, it shouldn't. So he like literally went to those coaches to be like, I have a player in Micah Parsons that is unlike anybody in terms of versatility I've ever been around. How do I teach that? How do I get that mold, right?
Yeah.
That was kind of similar to Joe with Chris, because Chris is just a rare physical ability.
It's a fascinating football discussion because so much of defense is based on rules. Who's got what responsibility? All of a sudden you have a guy that can do a little bit of everything. How do you build a defense to allow someone to potentially freelance or to line up like Chris is doing now, where he's like, you know what?
Yeah,
I want to go against that guy right now. And then he moves over and shifts everybody around.
What you need to make that work, and I remember really early in my career covering J.J. Watt when I was a beat reporter for the Texans before NFL Network. And what you need, is obviously you have that freak player that can just pick and choose. They come to the sideline. I want to work here. I want to do this. You need other guys on your defensive line that can then slide over and still play well, because they're playing quote unquote out of position because they have to do something differently. And that it's a hard thing to do, because I mean, there used to be guys in Houston that used to get mad at JJ because he'd make these unbelievable wow plays. Like, he'd freelance like crazy. Sometimes the ball would go, or the play would run directly to where he was supposed to be, within the rules, like you mentioned, right, BJ? So, like, then there's this huge gap on the defensive line, and this big gain happens. And it's like, I remember talking to Wade Phillips about it. Wade'd be like, well, what are you going to put up with? You want the 20 sacks, 20 batted passes, 20 tackles for loss, and a couple of runs that, ended up going where he was supposed to be? Or do you want him to go play, freelance ball, like makes him one of the best players we've ever seen on the defensive line? Chris is exactly the same way.
Yeah, we could say that he did that with Bob Sutton, his defense, and the way that it was set up, that Chris at times had done the same thing. It's probably the same for all players. And I remember people talking about Derek Johnson and the way that he would dip around blocks, because athletically he could do it, and he could make a play doing it, not the way that you're taught, not the professional technique, but he's the all-time leading tackler, and he can make a play. I remember talking with a couple of guys, Josh Malga being one of them, where he just looked and he's like, I can't watch DJ and learn something, because I athletically cannot do what he's doing. I have to try and make a play a different way.
The outliers actually make things a little bit harder on everybody. It's funny.
All right, we're going to get to the Chiefs questions. We spend a little time on that. We're going to get to the Chiefs questions after this quick break.
Shop Chiefs tickets and more with no fees. Plus, save big with code KCSN at ticketsforless.com, the official ticket provider of KC Sports Network.
With big wireless providers, what you see is never what you get. Somewhere between the store and your first month's bill, the price you thought you were paying magically skyrockets. With Mint Mobile, you'll never have to worry about gotchas ever again. When Mint Mobile says $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan, they mean it. Say bye-bye to your overpriced wireless plans, jaw-dropping monthly bills, and unexpected overages. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you with premium wireless plans starting at $15 a month. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone in any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with your existing contacts with you. Ditch overpriced wireless with Mint Mobile's deal and get 3 months of premium wireless service for $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/KCSN21. That's mintmobile.com/KCSN21. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/KCSN21. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
All right, welcome back to 21 Questions here on KC Sports Network. Appreciate
you in.
Yeah, we're like 5 questions.
Okay.
Ask more questions than that. We'll go with 10. Okay, Rob.
No, you can do 21. I'll speed myself up.
Listen, we got a Pokemon question coming up, and that's going to be pretty short because Tucker was educating me earlier on Pokemon.
Okay.
Yeah, true story. Know nothing.
Know nothing? Okay.
And absolutely nothing. So,
get to it when we get to it.
Well, welcome back to this phenomenal episode of 21 Questions. Hanging out with James Palmer from NFL Media. They made the rounds, and one of my favorite people to catch up with talking Chiefs. So these questions, we're going to start with questions from Twitter. James, The first one is a hard-hitting question. It actually is a real question from TJ McGann saying, do the Chiefs have any interest in making a trade this year? Not for you to speak on behalf of the Chiefs, but would you be surprised if you saw the Chiefs make a move?
No, I wouldn't, because I would say there's a handful of GMs, and I put Brett Veach in this group, that call on everything, that are like 20. I call them 24-hour GMs. Howie Rosen's probably the Pied Piper of the group. Nobody, I don't think, improves their roster 12 months out of a year like Howie does. I mean, if you look at the moves that they've made, the beginning of training camp, the end of training camp, what was it, a few years ago, he had their starting safety in C.J. Gardner-Johnson like a week before the start of the season 3 years ago. Like, he does it. Veach is that way too. Like, he is all about just, let me see what this means on everything. You know what I mean? I mean, so I wouldn't be surprised. Usually what's the main thing that brings this up, to the forefront is injury. So hopefully you don't think it's any sort of injury. They do think they're pretty deep. But I wouldn't put a trade past them by any stretch because they're in that Super Bowl window. Now, we know the Super Bowl window is essentially as long as Patrick Mahomes is playing. But if you want that three-peat and that certain guy is going to move the meter, I mean, I don't think it would be some earth-shattering trade.
Yeah.
But I would equate it to, BJ, like when they brought in Drew Tranquill. Like, really, really smart move, right? Really smart move. They were shocked that the Chargers were like, you guys don't want him for this price?
Yeah.
Cool. And he played a huge role in the season last year. Maybe something on that level, I would think.
Yeah, they've done it with like a pass. They do with Terrell Suggs. They brought him in late that Super Bowl season back in 2020. Maybe if you're like a pass rusher where you don't necessarily have to know the scheme of the defense. And I get hung up. A DB would be really difficult to bring in the early the season. You bring in a corner trying to learn the defense and all the different checks and all the different things that are going on. Pass rusher going on a third down, you get 12 to 15 snaps where it's just, hey, go get after the quarterback.
Yeah.
And offensively, I don't see it. And passer, you have Charles Omenihu coming back anyway, which is essentially the same thing, getting a player back. FAU hopefully will develop, getting more snaps and getting him comfortable with his role. And then offensively, it's kind of what Kareem is to me in a receiver. I just don't see that happening unless it's somebody that had played here, kind of did that with Juju, bringing somebody back.
They did it. Like they've done a lot of those type of moves already. Like I kind of mentioned the Drew and Elijah, but it's true thinking about it. Like a lot of them are kind of the moves that you would think would happen have kind of already happened, honestly.
Yeah, they don't need a receiver. They can put Matt Ariza out there because we see that he can catch the football. All right, next question is from Seamuth Levin. Pokemon Red or Red and Green starters, who are you choosing?
I don't know anything about Pokemon. I don't. I did my senior year of high school. I dressed up as Pokemon for Halloween.
Okay.
But it was like a kid's costume. So it was like skin tight.
What color was it?
Yellow. It was yellow. It was Pokemon. Isn't Pokemon yellow? Isn't he the...
Tucker's going to have to jump in here because neither one.
Pikachu. You're talking about
Pikachu. Yeah, I dressed up as
like
Pikachu.
the mascot.
Yeah, Pikachu's the mascot. I dressed up as Pikachu. But it was like a kid's costume, so it was like skin tight. You can read into that what you want, but I got sent home early because it was kind of like distracting and inappropriate because it was a small costume. Okay.
Good on you for at least attempting, I guess. Yeah. Find the positive. Yeah, I know nothing. I was asking Tucker before the show about an hour and a half ago. I was saying, please teach me about Pokemon.
Kids don't like it now.
Did it start as a video game or cards or like where did this? I don't know.
Cards.
It's become everything. So where did this thing start? What was it?
Yeah, I thought it was cards.
Cards?
Yeah, I think it was a card game then a video game. Charmander's the best one though.
Okay. Write that down.
You answer the question. Okay, red or green? Red and green. Who are you choosing?
Yeah, I'm choosing Charmander because he evolves into Charizard, which is a fire lizard.
Naturally,
That's so sick.
That makes all sense.
That's so sick.
All right, let's get to a very in-depth football question. Then also,
got it.
Not answer. Justin Depp. The Chiefs' offense always seems to evolve as the year progresses. Do you think we will see more intermediate to deep field concept as the years goes on? Mahomes' ADOT is almost 40th in the NFL currently.
That was the plan. I mean, that was the plan. I kept being told when I made my rounds calling around, the league was like, just wait till you see how explosive we are. Like we have more speed than we've had in 2 years. And I don't think that was an exaggeration. I think that was true. I think they were right. And a lot of that was designed off of Marquise Brown. Like a lot of it was off the pop. And that was really the key cog to it. And the chemistry that I heard early on with him and Pat was outstanding. And then that was going to allow Xavier Worthy to kind of be this complement to it. And that's great, I think, for a rookie to let them grow and let them, get this NFL growth in the early part of the season and not be relied upon it now. I think things have changed with the loss of Hollywood for sure. I would like to be more explosive for sure. If they had goals as an offense this offseason, that was probably the number one goal as an offense was to create more explosives. They thought with what we're seeing in the early portion of the season, right, with Rashee Rice and Travis, there's so much pressure coming on them in that intermediate short routage in the middle of the field that it was getting hard to work. Like it's hard to work in that small area. If you can get DBs to stretch and you can get this cover two to stretch down the field with some explosive plays, it's going to work off of each other, right? Those guys are going to have more room. You're going to be more explosive downfield. And that was really what they thought it was going to be. Yeah. They can win a lot of ways, BJ, right? They can win a lot of ways. And we're just going to see how this offense evolves now. And I think it's going to evolve due to the personnel that they have at their disposal. That's going to be the way with the way it's gone so far, the way they go. They'd love to be explosive. I don't know if they can be.
Yeah. I like that you bring up they can reinvent themselves. I mean, they've done it 3 different Super Bowls over the last, like in the Mahomes Breed era, and they've been 3 different types of teams. They've had to do it in different ways. I think they were going to have more fun. I think, with everybody being healthy. But going back to the immediate question, I think obviously we'll never know. It's like Andy Reid's very forthcoming about his play calling and why he makes decisions. But I will say it's not that there's not deeper shots being called. A lot of this level concepts, they're flooding different areas of the field. And the ADOT being what it is, obviously he's throwing it shorter, but it's not from a lack of at least sending guys down there. Why he's not pulling the trigger in certain situations you can see. And you could overanalyze one particular play. And I can picture one in my head right now that I know he talked about during his presser where Kelsey's got literally 4 guys' eyes on him, and Noah Gray's got nobody within 15 yards of him in the middle of the field. Gets a nice chunk play and runs down. It wasn't a huge ADOT because he didn't throw the ball very far, but there was plenty of space because of the attention on someone else. Mm-hmm. But I do agree that as this season goes on, they're going to be more comfortable with certain guys. Xavier Worthy's going to get more comfortable, and they're going to have different answers for different looks. But it's not anything I'm concerned about.
It's also a league-wide trend. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah.
It's just the deep shots are tough. The way the league's playing. It's like I've talked to so many guys, and Chiefs fans know about this with Vic Fangio being in the division for as long as he was. It was like, how do we find a way to have teams have more plays, greater chance of mistake, greater chance of a hold or a false start or any sort of penalty? More plays equal a greater opportunity for you to hurt yourself as an offense. That's the thinking around the NFL right now.
Negative plays.
Negative play and negative plays kill drives. I mean, they just really do. And so that became a thinking from Vic and making you dink and dunk down the field. Mentioning like the Broncos, like that's like what Sean Payton's trying to do with Bo Nix. He did it with the greatest dink and dunk quarterback we've ever seen in Drew Brees. Like that offense was so wired together where it was like, right, there were no mistakes. So they never went backwards. And it's cool if you never go backwards and you're 6 yards, 4 yards, 5 yards, 6 yards. You can do it. They're just banking on penalties and mistakes, and that's the way the league's wired right now. And it's frustrating for fans. Apparently, Mel Kiper wants the whole league to ban.
I was going to ask you if you're on the ban cover 2.
No, I'm not, because the funny part is cover 2 is still played like not even close to the other 2 main coverages. Yeah. So I don't know what the point of it is, but it is. Everything is like, it's to not let anybody over the top. I mean, that is the way it's done, but that's also the way it was done. Like Pee-wee.
Cyclical.
It's
Here come the 240-pound downhill running back again. Who's going to run the ball up the middle?
I think running the football is going to come back. I really do. Like we always say it's a passing league because of these things. I think that if you look at the teams that are running the football well right now, go look at their records. Like it's kind of connected.
Yep. All right. Next question from Oregon Magic, Josh. Is Skyline Chili as bad as it looks?
Yeah. Skyline Chili's trash. I'm sorry. I went to school in Ohio, right? I went to Ohio State. I went to Cincinnati plenty. I think Skyline Chili is disgusting. I think it's gross. That's all I got on it. Honestly, I think I don't understand the allure to it at all.
Makes me happy. All right, we're gonna move on to the Mint Mobile hotline questions. That Tucker sent us over, and Tucker, you have to jump in on this one because I don't have any information on this, James. I don't know if you do. Any updates to the Chiefs relocation stadium situation? Not that I'm aware of.
Not like recently, not since the Star Bonds passed.
Right. The Star Bonds thing was basically Kansas' way of saying, sure,
like we're open for business.
We'll do this if it makes sense.
Yeah.
I think that was the last thing that really happened.
I don't know that much on it. Yeah. Honestly, I really don't. And that like run through, I want to make sure I'm right? Like, so Kansas was, run through that from my understanding, because I think I get it. Like, they were like, I could come over, you can come over, right?
Yeah, I'm really going to simplify this down. Kansas is basically saying, like, we'll provide the setup to where it could get paid for public. Basically, we'll set it up to where you can get a free stadium if they're going to make you pay a few $100 million.
Yeah.
And so it's turning out to, is Jackson County going to work with them to offset some of the costs, all the costs, whatever? Kansas is offering a free stadium.
Yeah. So how does that usually play out? What is it almost like right now in your head? Like, is it kind of like a threat?
Listen,
like, right? To me, that's the way I'm.
So it's negotiating, and they're going to use public perception.
Exactly.
They're going to use the media. That's how this all works. But for me, it's going to be 30 minutes, whether I drive to Jackson County, whether I drive to the state of Kansas. I've not ever publicly talked about this. I don't piss people off, but it's going to be a 30-minute drive for me either way. I'm not going to blame Clark Hunt if they give him a free stadium and him to pay $500 million to put a stadium of his money. Like, I get it. But for the last 30 years, however long it's been, we've been asking the poorest county in the KC Metro to pay sales tax on a stadium when 70% of the season ticket members live in Overland Park in Johnson County. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying they have to pay for it. I'm just saying that it hasn't been a great setup for everyone. I'm not sure what the best answer is. For me personally, it's going to be within Kansas City. It's not like they're moving to San Antonio. None of that stuff is going to happen. I want Arrowhead. I want them to rebuild Arrowhead. I want the allure of it, the legacy of it. The fact that Clark Hunt's talked about how much it means to him and his family because of his dad and that being like his thing.
Yeah.
But $500 million is $500 million or whatever it is for a stadium. So
where's Clark Hunt rank on the wealthiest owners?
I don't know.
Pretty high.
He's near the top. He's near the top.
$500 million.
Putting that out there. This is kind of going on with the Sixers in Philadelphia. Honestly,
I will say
threat to move to New Jersey.
It'll never be the same. If they build a stadium in Kansas, it'll never feel the same. It'll be fun. People will figure out a way to go have a good time in a parking lot, tailgate, all of that. But that part of it that so many Chiefs fans and myself hold on to more strongly than we probably should, and that's normal. But like it's generational fandom here. I grew up going to the games with my dad. I took the same route, went to the same McDonald's that's still there, so the same area of the parking lot. And getting a new stadium wipes all of that out. And
okay.
That stinks.
This might make everybody hate me, but devil's advocate there. Like,
let's have it out.
Everybody has a new stadium. Like in the league, in sports. Like
Lambeau.
I mean, no. Yeah, I know like Lambeau. Like, look, Soldier Field.
But Lambeau needs Lambeau.
Look what's happening in Chicago right now, too. They're debating about keeping it downtown and going out to Arlington Heights, where the racetrack is. And I get it. I get the nostalgia factor. I grew up going to the Vet nonstop, and that was like, the place that everybody hated to play. Nobody wanted to play there. The fans were insane. The playing surface was awful. Like, that was our advantage. And we were all like, oh, my God, how will I ever survive without Veterans Stadium? It's fine.
Yeah.
They still sell out every game in Philadelphia. They happen. I get the nostalgia. I do, because there are a feeling we get in certain stadiums, in certain environments, and you get them. But the honest truth of it is, like, the dollar bill is going to win. Like, over your nostalgia, and it's happened everywhere. Like the Wild Play. I'm sitting in Denver right now. I found this out the other day. You're a big baseball guy, BJ. Like, Coors Field is the third oldest stadium in the National League. I feel like that place was just built. It was built in '95, but which is like a while. Not it's still a while ago. But like the only National League parks older than it are Wrigley Field and Dodger Stadium. Like, everybody has a new stadium. Like, it happens. It drives revenue. It creates larger revenue, sharing amongst the league. It does so many different things. It's just the nature of the system. I love Arrowhead, man. I've sat in that stadium probably more hours than most people have, because I was allowed in at 6 a.m. And I sat there forever for a night game, and I know every inch of that museum. I've read every single piece of literature in that Chiefs museum, just sitting there for hours on end, like reading, the Clark Hunt, like actual, like written things to owners about it. Just nuts. And I love the stadium. I think it's great, but I mean, there's a certain middle ground that
everything. It won't be there forever. I get that, but this is one of those things where I know, like, I'm the old man shouts at cloud, like, just the old grumpy guys, like, oh, just don't change. Just hold on to that. Like, don't let everything's changing. Just keep that. But I get it, and I'm not going to be upset. I'm going to spend the money. I'm going to go to the new stadium. I'm going to go tailgate, and I'm going to sit there the whole time and be like, not as cool as it was. Like, I'm probably going to be that guy. But
I mean, nice things are nice too, right? Like, upgrades are nice.
Yeah. But also, we talked about
enjoy covering.
If the stadium was going to happen tomorrow, like, the stadium's not going to happen until maybe the very end of Patrick Mahomes' career, or if even he will play in that stadium. And so we'll see. But yeah. All right. Next question. Any chance that Andy Reid would put Carson Wentz on the trade block with, like, Miami's injuries? Do you think there's any chance that?
I don't think Miami doesn't have any interest in Carson Wentz.
I don't think the Chiefs would have any interest in trading a quality backup quarterback that we have seen throughout the years has to step in at some point and make a few plays.
Yeah, and that's happened in Kansas City, right? Like, key drives.
Guy you just mentioned, Chad Henne.
Yeah, Chad Henne. Yeah, like, he's like built into Chiefs lore now.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Matt Moore. I saw it in Denver. I was 50 feet away when he popped his kneecap.
Yeah. Oh, and I remember standing outside that locker room for like a hawk, just trying to, like, see everything that was going on. I stopped watching the game. I know I left the press box. I was literally outside that locker room for the entire kneecap situation.
You disappeared, and it was a Fox game because Erin Andrews kept coming up to me, and she was texting Aaron Rodgers at the time because I guess he had that injury or knew somebody who did. I remember the context. She kept coming up. She's like, "What have you heard?" I'm like, "I'm not asking questions about this right now."
She did the same thing with me because she knew I was standing outside. Though she kept texting me, "You're outside the locker room."
I'm not going to have any information.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a valuable thing to have. I think this is good for Carson, honestly. I think it's a good spot for him. Pick Rowe as the player. Yeah. We've seen that happen with certain situations, right? Go look at Sam Darnold right now. Look at the year and, San Fran did. Andy has flipped quarterbacks you haven't seen that have been with him in the past, right? Like Kevin Cobb comes to mention back in the day, right? When it was like nobody even knew what he did, and then all of a sudden they traded him for like a 4th round pick, and you're like, how did Andy do that? But like, I don't see them doing it in season. I could see it like a reclamation project, helping out everybody involved, honestly, at the same time.
Yeah, I think this is the strongest I felt that Carson Wentz is at least has the most accolades, the most pedigree for a backup quarterback that he's had with Patrick Mahomes in that room. So they're too important of a spot, and we've seen that over the years. I don't think they would trade him. And to your point, I don't know if anybody would trade anything valuable. He's going to be more valuable to Chiefs than anything anyone would give up for Carson Wentz right now. This was for off-season question. Would you be willing, Chiefs, to trade or release Jawan Taylor if it meant that you got to keep Trey Smith and the contract that he might be getting or should be getting, but you'll get it from somebody in what's happened with the guard market over the last year? Trey Smith's going to get paid.
Yeah, I'd do that.
You would give it a Jawan to keep Trey if it was that simple? If
it was that simple, yeah. What you've seen is Patrick can play with sub-average tackle play. He can, and he's done it. And he's, sadly enough, he's been forced to do it, right? Like, he's had to. Those 3 in the middle are like an offensive cheat code. I mean, it's been outstanding. And you're going to need to keep him because, like, Tooney's not going to play forever. Like, you know what I mean? I would do anything to keep Trey. And obviously they already locked up Creed, right? So that interior, the biggest thing, and Brady would always say this too, like, as long as I'm protected up the middle, and the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, like, I'm good. I'll get rid of the ball. I'll make something happen. And obviously he doesn't even have the mobility, or never did, that Patrick has. That's too valuable. It's way too valuable. That's where a lot of your injuries come from.
It's really cool that Tucker and I had the opportunity this year, and Tucker did. I've done the last couple of years too, the O-line masterminds with Duke Manyweather down in Dallas or in Frisco. And seeing Trey, who went there as a player when he was in college at Tennessee, went and was a part of that program and learning. And getting all the offensive linemen together and kind of learning from them.
Yeah.
This year, going down and seeing how Trey has just become a leader in that space. Every time there were breakout sessions, all the top college offensive linemen who were down there, off in these side questions, asking him questions, college football coaches asking him questions about how he does things. It's the professionalism, the way that he carries himself. Like, that is a dude you want in your room. And Creed's down there too. They're doing it together. Those guys are close. They train together in the offseason. Dukes does phenomenal work across the league with a lot of dudes, but just seeing Trey in that environment, Tucker, tell me if I'm wrong, but like, it just reiterated how a young player who 2 years earlier was listening to everybody has positioned himself to now be the dude that everybody wants to ask questions to.
I agree. I think you said it well. I don't need to add anything. You said it really.
You were there.
Yeah, I was there. I saw it all. I saw everything you just said.
I mean, he's done everything you've wanted to have happen in terms of growth from a young player that you draft, right? It's happened with Creed as well. That you not only go from being just like, like seeing a lot of raw talent, and obviously there were some questions about Trey, but like, and then blossoming into this. And I remember like a few years ago, I remember texting people in Kansas City, and it was like, Trey Smith's our best offensive line. Like, he is. And this is before he honestly became like Trey Smith. Like, and they saw that. And then when you have all the other intangibles that come with it, it's the things that you lock up. I mentioned Philly earlier. You lock up O-linemen. It changes the course of your franchise, especially when you have the quarterback.
You win Super Bowls when you draft guys in the late rounds, and they end up becoming the highest paid player at his position, or one of the highest paid. When he gets paid, he's going to be one of the highest paid guards in football.
Big time. But there also is the other part of that, right? Where it's, if you draft really well, like Brett Veach has done, you put yourself in a lot of binds where you got to pick and choose because you can't sign everybody. Like, and it's a great, like every GM will tell you, it's a great problem to have. Man, we drafted well over the last 4 years. Now we got to pay all these guys. Somebody is the odd man out. Like that usually happens. The first instance that I'm thinking of right now is, remember that defense in Denver that was so good in 2015, like won the Super Bowl. I mean, Peyton Manning could throw the ball like 4 feet and they still won the Super Bowl. They drafted Malik Jackson in like the 5th round and Derek Wolfe in like the 4th round or something like that. And they were both up at the same time. They just had to pick one. I think Malik Jackson got paid by Jacksonville like a boatload of money, and they kept their, like, you got to pick sometimes, which stinks because you found all these guys. You're the one who picked them. You're the one who picked them late, but you got to pick. I would pick Trey.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's move on to questions from the Discord. This one is from was Doc.
What's up, Doc?
What's up, Doc?
Yeah.
Oh,
no,
say was Doc again. Yeah.
Was Doc.
Yeah, that's the way it was supposed to be said.
He copied and transferred different.
Yeah.
Okay. Didn't get the emoji with the up arrow. Tucker. Is the main reason for the Chiefs game being so close more due to Andy trying to save his good stuff and letting off the gas, or the teams that they play against are playing that much harder because they are the Chiefs?
Is there a third option? Like, some of these teams are pretty good.
Yeah, I think there's. It's hard to simplify.
Like, I think the Falcons are pretty a decent team. And the Cincinnati always gives them a hard time.
Yes.
Always. Same thing with the Ravens. Like these are teams that are like they're decent teams. I know Cincinnati's 0-3, but like you don't save anything really.
Right.
I mean, your playbook
it's iterations
changes.
of plays that
Exactly
they have shown.
Yeah, and Andy's playbook is so big. You know, you can't put it all in for every game. Like you just can't. So you play within the game plan, right? You know this, Bijan. You play within the plays that you installed for that game plan. Can you change things throughout the course of the game a little bit? Yeah. You can do your wrinkles off of it, and you can change some things off of tendencies and whatnot. But it's not like Andy Reid's playbook is at their disposal every Sunday, like the depth of it.
Especially like 2 minute, 4 minutes, the situational things. Like they're going to do what
that's the way they work. Yeah.
In the margin of error, like it's funny how and I'm 100% a part of this. This network is everyone that covers the Chiefs is a part of this. This entitlement that we've started to feel about how good we are, and that we're just, we'll wait till the play. It's all, this whole season is just kind of a build up to being ready to go when the playoffs get here, which is something that we can talk through now. But we're winning games by like one score. Like these are close. The ball bounces one way a little bit differently, and we're not 3-0, and we won't be able to phrase questions quite like this as far as the games being close. What it is the Chiefs don't beat themselves, and you give them enough opportunities, they're going to take advantage because they're that much talented. The margin of error of beating the Chiefs is very small. The margin of error for the Chiefs, we're seeing they can play a C game and still win just because they are that good and they don't beat themselves late.
Yeah, that's probably the right way to put it. There's nothing being held back. You're not looking at snaps going, I want to limit some snaps. A perfect example would be like if you were doing that, you would be playing Travis Kelce less right now, and they're not. So if that was your thinking, that's probably a player at 35 or almost, his birthday's like almost 35 or something, that you would be seeing fewer snaps from early on if that was your thinking. But he's playing like 85% of the snaps or something like that. Like he's playing a lot. So the other part that I would say is kind of like an outside the box look at it, but like kind of connected to this is Bill Belichick always said like the first quarter of the season, the first 4 games, you find out a lot about your team. You learn a lot about who you are. And then you build off of that and you adapt and change. I do think you have the ability to do that when you have a Tom Brady or you have a Patrick Mahomes, because you have the ability to learn about yourself and still win games. Doesn't mean you're holding back in snaps. Doesn't mean you're holding back in the playbook. You just have a greater ability to evolve as a team from year to year and use those that quarter. Like coaches break it up right by the quarter system and the season. And so Bill was always big about those first 4 games. We're going to learn a lot about ourselves as a team. You're not holding anything back by any stretch. Though.
Yeah, that's what we used to talk about until last year. That's how Spagnuolo's ever judge a Spags defense before Halloween.
Yeah.
It's like after Halloween, they'll lock it in. But last year, maybe it's because they had to be much better from the
They were great.
beginning.
What was the year? Because I was at the game, talk about great stadiums. I was at the game in Washington. At FedEx Field, and Tyrann, that place is a beauty. And Tyrann Mathieu literally threw his helmet like across the length of the field. Do you remember this? And it was like it was maybe like week 3.
I never went to Washington, so it may have been 2020.
No, it was it was, and they were on pace to give up more yards per play than any team in the history of the NFL that year. I won the Super Bowl, I think, but that was one of those slow start Spag years.
Yeah, they started 2-3.
Historically. I mean, it was
That
unbelievable.
trigger some Chiefs fans, but was that 2020 or 20? I get the years mixed up. But when they started 2-3 and all Chiefs fans wanted Spags and everyone fired after they had played in the Super Bowl. The year they lost to Cincinnati in the AFC title. No, it was either they lost to Tampa Bay in the Super Bowl. But either way, they'd wanted everybody fired, and then Hitch 2023,
21.
I think that sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, they'd asked for everyone. They wanted everyone fired because they had a slow start.
I don't know why I remember like the defense was bad.
Yeah,
Tyron
this
threw
is
his helmet
toxic.
across the field. Yeah,
Everyone got mad.
it was real bad. Then everything just turned out okay.
Fans were being toxic. I'm sorry. I agreed with them. They were 2-3. It turned out okay. All right, let's get to the next question. Any trade? Sorry, Sky Juju. We kind of answered that earlier. Question was: are there any trades on the radar yet for the Chiefs? I think the new players coming back are the guys coming back from injury. It's get Charles Omenihu healthy, get Pacheco back at some point, hopefully later in the season. But we will see. Jayhawk over under 850 yards for Travis Kelce. He's got 69 so far this year. Had 984 yards receiving last year. I think he gets at least 850. James.
I don't think so. And that's not a slight to Travis, or that's just the way it's gone. And you can't have 69 for the first three and still get over 8. That just, to me, I'm trying to do the math in my head. It still just makes it tough.
If you've been around him, so I could ask this in tongue in cheek. How much do you think Travis cares?
Oh, he doesn't care.
He doesn't care at all.
If he's Travis Kelce, future Hall of Fame tight end on a 3-peat Super Bowl winning team, that is literally what matters. That is what he cares about. That's the way to ride off into the sunset.
I remember going up to him after like open locker room had closed when media years and years ago. And I went in there to just tell him that we're tracking and now it went public and everybody was talking about like the most consecutive 1,000-yard seasons from a tight end. That no tight end had done it like 3 times, and he did it like 7 years in a row.
Yeah.
I was telling him at the 3rd year, like, dude, you're doing something that nobody's ever done. And he was like, no disrespect, man. That's awesome. I'm glad you looked that up. But I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care at all.
Doesn't care.
No. There was no camera, like nothing. Just me being like, hey, man, like this is really cool. Like, I don't care.
Yeah, he doesn't care about that. I don't think he does.
Before 3 Super Bowls. So I really don't think he cares about
Now
it.
he really doesn't care. Yeah,
100%. All right, last one. I'll think of another question. This is not going to be the last question we have. But Jerry Dogman, why are the Chiefs so bad in short yardage situations?
That's our last question. Oh, no, we're not going to.
No, we're going to get another one. I want to
phrase it into
Philly. Is this a Philly thing? Like, is this something this has been something that's been brought up about Andy Reid since he's been in Kansas City? This is not a new thing as far as struggling in short yardage. I'm curious your thoughts on it because it's a bigger discussion than just this year.
Yeah. I kind of want to spin into like, will we ever see Patrick do a quarterback sneak? Do you think that'll ever? I mean, Andy's been pretty insistent on saying like that's not happening. I think he'd be great at it. Like, I know the kneecap got dislocated. I was there, but he's so much stronger than people.
Shout out Dr. Schreppel. Yeah. Shout out Dr. Schreppel. Speaking of statues needed, Alex Smith, Paul Schreppel.
Yeah. I remember like, cause I was all on that thing. I was like, on TV all night. The next morning, I'm like calling everybody, like, and I started hearing out of Kansas City, like, I'm like on the phone, like, so what's the deal? Blah, blah, all this stuff. And I'm like, I keep hearing back from people that are like, don't quote me on this, but I think he's all right. And I was like, what? Like, how is he fine?
At the end of the game. You were outside the locker room. He was like, I can go back.
Yeah, I can go back in. I was like, what? And then everybody in Kansas City, like, hey, he's got another test this morning, but like, I think he's like, I mean, he probably won't play this week. I was like, I figured that, like, but they're like, I think he's fine. Short yardage is hard, specifically for kind of West Coast coaches oftentimes. I mean, Andy's screen game and the way a lot of it works side to side is sometimes a little bit tougher. It's been something, honestly, that has plagued Andy for like forever. I mean, I'm being in Philly. It was always, why are you throwing the screen on 3rd and short to Brian Westbrook instead of running?
I remember that it was about him throwing in short yards. I couldn't remember
throwing all the time. And
I was wrong early with the Chiefs. It was easier to explain. It's like, well, he's getting like LDT. He has Laurent Duvernay-Tardif, who's a lighter right guard, who's really good at getting out in space and running an angle screen 50 yards down the field. You want that athletic guy who can get out and run, not necessarily the guy who's going to maul somebody at 2 yards. And if you want the same guy, you're looking at a unicorn. Like you're looking at the Mike who can play the run between the tackles and cover deep and do all the different things. Like but now we're still seeing some of those struggles outside of the one open handoff inside run that we do every single time on third or fourth down. Always works, but I should say always because we do struggle.
It's
a short yardage, but yeah,
it is actually harder across the league than you think it is outside of the tush push. Like, it's tough. And then look at the Eagles last past week. They ran a counter with Saquon Barkley off of it and didn't get the first down.
It just throw to linemen, just do the fun stuff, and then people complain when it doesn't work.
Throw to a lineman, put a lineman back there, man. Hand it off to a lineman. Go back.
You got to get Chris an opportunity. We got to get Chris an opportunity. I'm kind of bummed that Leo Chanel keeps getting all these goal line fullback moments, and like Chris has not gotten out there yet. The guy's been clamoring for it
big time
since he got there.
You think he has Andy has PTSD from the Patrick thing? Like, I just don't want to put my most highly priced, unbelievable talent in that scrum.
I think he says if our game comes down to him having to convert this, then we've lost already. I should have been better beforehand, so I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
All right, last question. Tucker, put you on the spot. You got the last question for us.
Oh boy,
gosh, that was a real spot putter.
Fire lizards.
Yeah.
What I got over? I wrote it down.
Explain Pokemon.
Good. Yeah. Favorite trip and favorite airport you go to, James.
Ooh,
that's a good one.
That's a really good one.
I'll give you time. My favorite trip was we went to Mexico City first and played at Estadio Azteca. Didn't really go check out Mexico City. Didn't really go see the sights. Didn't leave the hotel. But when we went to Wembley, went to London, we had like a half a day one day. Like they treated it like a regular road game. So it wasn't like we had all this time. So we had like a half a day to take a tube and try to do all the tourist things as fast as we possibly could. But I like sitting out in the press, like the open air press box in Wembley. Like that was a cool experience.
Wembley's great. Yeah, I've done Wembley 5 times. Wembley's awesome. I've done it. That was probably one of my favorite trips. I did 2 Wembleys back to back, so I stayed for like 12 days in London. That was probably my favorite road trip. Azteca was cool. I did Raiders Patriots at Azteca. I think that sounds right. Yeah, Raiders Patriots. Favorite airport?
The new KCI.
I can't say your airport. Actually, I will say this. I love it.
The new one is nice.
It's so much better than the one I used to spend too much time in that was just terrible. There was a guy, I don't know the guy's name now. Like there was a guy that worked on Off the Vine. That little bar that was called Off the Vine at the old airport. And he would always just have a drink, he'd have a Stella waiting for me. And he would be like, I saw you on the TV and I knew you'd be flying out tonight. And he'd like just slide me a beer as I'm walking up. That's how often
That's amazing.
I was in Kansas City. And he would see me coming through, it wasn't even actually to security, right? Because he would go through security and then go in. But it was Off the Vine, and he would be like, I saw you on NFL Network today, and you'd be coming through tonight. And he'd have a beer waiting for me. A Stella usually waiting for me at that spot.
I'll call up to our friends at Holiday Distillery because they are inside the barbecue spot up there in the new KCI, and we'll have an old-fashioned, a Ben Holiday bourbon old-fashioned waiting for you now.
Ooh,
whenever you
let's do that.
We'll get one.
I like that idea. That sounds great. Can we switch it to Manhattan? Is that fine?
Yeah, whatever you want.
Okay, yeah. I'm a Manhattan guy. Sneaky good airport, Detroit. Sneaky good airport, which is strange, but it's true. But the new airport is nice. Houston Bush has a lot of really good food options. If you go down to Houston, I kind of like that airport quite a bit. Tampa, strictly for location. I can be live on television and be boarding in about 20 minutes and be at the facility and get on my flight. Like you can see the airport from Tampa's stadium and practice.
That's amazing.
Facility. So that's a huge cheat code right there.
That's how I used to judge stadiums and like airports and cities is how close was the airport to the stadium.
Yes.
And that's why Arizona sucked.
Oh,
it was like Kansas City sucked too, to be honest.
Yeah,
it was a solid 45 minutes.
It really is from the stadium. But it stinks because if you're downtown Arizona, it's great.
Yeah,
you're right there.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, I would say that one in Tampa is kind of great. But yeah, the really nice sneaky good airport is Detroit. Spent
nice question
times there. Yeah, that's a favorite trip though. Yeah, I would say Wembley's good, but the Super Bowl is a blast every year. I would think that I would put like one of my most memorable weeks was and I know Chiefs fans aren't going to like this because they didn't come out on top, but the Brady Mahomes AFC Championship game, like that week, the game, the conditions, that stadium, like as an impartial, like just it's something I'll kind of like always remember because it's kind of like to me it was the kind of passing of the guard. Like even though Brady won, it was like, okay, like this is this is like this kid's unbelievable.
People
should have got on the field, I would say.
People remember it as the coin flip or the D Ford offside. I remember it as it was Edelman. They converted 3 3rd and 10s on that drive, and it was a D.
It was Edelman. I think Gronk had one of the 3 too. Like down the seam, I want to say Gronk down the seam.
I remember getting home at 2 a.m. after the game and getting up at 5 a.m. to go to the airport to go to the Senior Bowl. I remember the draft started the next morning, and I got to the Senior Bowl and was like, "What are you doing here?" It's like working. I got a job to do.
Like I'm working, I guess.
Trying to be good at this.
Yeah. Jeez Louise. But that game to me was like, this was like the change of the NFL. Kind of getting to that. Because remember, we were so scared of like, who are the new faces of the league? Like all these guys are hanging up at the same time, whether it's Peyton or Brady or Breeze, like what's going to happen? And now look at like, there's like a million.
I wasn't scared about that.
No.
Because everybody internally was like, we got a dude.
They're like, we got the guy.
Just wait till you see what's about to happen.
We got this dude. But no, that was like the 2 years leading into like even Patrick playing, right? Everybody's like, well, where is the new face of the league? And that game, that's why that game sticks out to me. I'm like, it was the guy that went toe-to-toe with Belichick and Brady, and the only reason he lost is he never got on the field. Like,
I'll never forget. And it was like Schrager, and you were around a lot, but it's like, there was so much buzz about Mahomes that whole year with Alex. Everybody was respectful to it. And then they kind of held it in. And then somewhere in the preseason, all of a sudden, everybody started waiting. There's like Louis Riddick, and like Brad just couldn't stop telling me this, like, this is about to be one of the most special things you've ever seen. I just remember everybody being so excited and kind of holding it in. And then all of a sudden, right before the season, all of this, like, you're about to see something crazy. And I'm like, you couldn't just wait another 2 weeks and just let it happen.
No, you can't, man. But it is why, I mean, we could talk about him for the stuff I know and the stories I've been told. Like, we could talk about Pat forever. It's unbelievable. There's more parallels, I think, between him and Brady than people think. I really do. That are like their superpowers that give them the advantage over everybody else. It's impossible. Let's just say this one before we go. Like, it is impossible to be on the fame level that both of them have been on and the height of their, and still be one of the guys in the locker room. Like, that is a really, 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 really rare thing to be able to do. And it was the advantage that I always thought Tom had covering him in New England all those years. And then I started seeing it happen in Kansas City, where it's like, to be that the face of the league, but also when the locker room doors shut and it's just 53 guys in there, like, you're one of the guys. And that's a hard thing to do. Peyton Manning couldn't do it. Like, Drew Brees had a hard time doing it. And it's hard. Like, you can't. It's hard to be one of the guys. Yeah. And Pat unbelievably wears both those hats so well, and it's an advantage.
Way to put it in. It's somebody like I haven't been around for several years, but the thing that always gives me comfort, especially with like Mahomes and Kelsey specifically, are like, my kids are young. They look up. Like, my son's wearing a Patrick Mahomes jersey. It's not just that he's a great football player. He's just a good dude. And it's nice to know that it's not just the success on the field and all those things. Like, he's a genuinely nice person, represents himself, his family, Kansas City, the things that he does. Like, he just makes me feel good to know that all of these people propping somebody up, like, is a genuinely good person.
Yeah. It's wild, isn't it?
Yeah.
Doesn't happen often. It's crazy. It's cool.
We'll leave it on that note. We appreciate you, man. James Palmer, Underdog Fantasy, Bleacher Report. You can follow him on Twitter at James Palmer TV.
Yeah, that's right. Still that. You got it. Nailed it.
Right off the top. But we appreciate everybody for hanging out. Please hit the like and subscribe. Let us know either in the comments, on social media. Leave a review if you like what you heard. If you didn't, don't. But we appreciate you for listening. James, man, always a pleasure.
Killer. Outside of the Pokemon question, I had a blast.
Yeah, I should have taken it out. I was just hoping, and I prefaced it, and you kind of made it sound like you had an idea. I think you were just excited to share your Halloween story.
Yeah, I think I was.
I think that's what's going on. Yeah. Pictures, or it didn't happen.
Our lizards got it. I got pictures. I think I got like acne embraces and stuff. We probably won't show.
It's good to have community notes underneath it. Like, I don't know if you can see this picture. All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We'll have more. See you later.